What if there was a single idea that could solve the biggest puzzles in modern physics and the oldest questions of human spirituality? Well, we're about to dive into a text called Chuan Dao Pan, and it makes that exact claim. It proposes a unified theory of, well, pretty much everything. Now, you'd think a text like this would jump right into spirituality, right? But it doesn't. It actually starts with science, specifically at the point where our understanding totally breaks down. So to really wrap our heads around its main argument, we first have to look at the puzzles that have had physicists scratching their heads for over a century. You see, the philosophy we're exploring here argues that to find the ultimate answer, you've got to understand the right questions first. And it finds those questions right at the cutting edge of physics, where things get really, really weird. Starting with a name you'll definitely recognize, Einstein.
I mean, Einstein's theory of general relativity was already mind-bending enough. It showed us that these massive cosmic forces can literally warp space and slow down time itself. But as strange as that was, the real head-scratcher began when science went from looking at the infinitely large to the infinitely small.
And this wasn't just confusing for you and me. I love this quote from Erwin Schrödinger because it shows that even the folks who discovered quantum mechanics were totally baffled by what they'd found. It's like they opened a Pandora's box of questions that just defied all common sense.
I mean, think about these questions. They just completely shook the foundations of science. The world of tiny particles seemed to play by a set of bizarre, almost magical rules. This left physics totally split, one set of laws for the big stuff and a whole other set for the small stuff, sparking this desperate search for a deeper theory that could finally make sense of it all.
And that search for one single elegant theory that could unite the massive scale of the cosmos with the bizarre quantum world, yeah, that became the absolute holy grail for modern physics.
Einstein himself spent the last 30 years of his life on this exact quest, but he never found the answer. And according to the text we're exploring, his search was always doomed to fail. Why? Because he was only looking at half of the picture. Okay, this is the core argument right here. This text claims that a unified theory can't be found in physics alone because our instruments can only measure physical forces. It proposes that there's this entire other set of non-physical forces that science completely ignores. Forces like intention, spirit, and consciousness, which it claims are just as real and fundamental to how the universe works.
So, if the answer isn't purely a scientific one, then what is it? Well, this is where it gets really interesting. The text says the true unified field isn't a math equation at all. It's a spiritual concept it calls the Tao of the greatest creator.
Now, this is a really key idea. The Tao here isn't just some impersonal force of nature, like gravity. It's described as the actual consciousness and operating system of a creator. It's the ultimate law of the land that governs both the physical world that science can see and the spiritual world that it can't.
And to make its case, the text draws these incredible parallels between different ancient traditions. It connects, in the beginning was the word from the Bible, to the Tao Te Ching's the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao, basically arguing they were all pointing to the exact same fundamental truth, just using different words.
Okay, so if the Tao is the universe's operating system, what are the rules? How does it actually function? The text uses a very specific and fascinating term to describe its fundamental nature.
And this is a super important distinction. The text argues the universe isn't just random chaos, it's Hundun, a state of ordered chaos. So what does that mean? It means nothing is an accident. Every single event, no matter how big or small, is part of this perfect, complex, interconnected web.
You've probably heard of the butterfly effect, and the text uses this exact idea to explain Hundun. It suggests the universe isn't just a bunch of separate things bumping into each other. It's a single, holographic, interconnected living body where every single part affects every other part, instantly, across all of space and time.
So the text actually lists 8 characteristics of this Tao, and here are 3 of the big ones: reliability, instantaneousness, and justice. When you put them together, they paint this picture of a universe that isn't cold or random at all. Instead, it's this incredibly intelligent, responsive, and ultimately fair system, where everything you do, say, or even think echoes throughout the entire system.
So, what's the point of understanding all this cosmic machinery? This is where the text brings it all home, translating this giant cosmic blueprint into a practical guide for our own lives. And it does that by contrasting 2 totally different ways of living.
On one side, you've got Yu Wei, which it calls the human way. Think of this as forceful, ego-driven action. It's like you're paddling furiously against the current.
On the other side, you have Wu Wei, the way of the Tao. This is effortless action, where you're moving in perfect harmony with the flow of the universe. The whole path to a higher existence, it argues, is about learning to shift from that struggle of Yu Wei to the flow of Wu Wei.
And the text lays out a really clear three-step path for how to do this. You start with deep inner work, getting rid of the mental weeds and settling your karmic debts. Then you have to shift your focus away from yourself and towards serving the whole. The ultimate goal here is to reach a state of wu-wo, or no self, where your personal ego just dissolves and you merge completely with the universal consciousness of the Tao. And all of this brings us to what is probably the single most powerful and practical idea in this entire text. It's where all these cosmic and spiritual laws come together into one core principle that affects every single one of us, every single day. Think about that for a second. The core idea is that your reality isn't something that just happens to you. It is a direct projection of what is happening inside of you. This philosophy basically says your consciousness is like a movie projector, and the world you experience is the screen. To make this point, the text even brings up experiments that suggest human thoughts can literally change the crystal structure of water. The takeaway is that your inner state isn't just a reaction to the world around you, it is actively creating it. And that leads to a really profound conclusion. You can't wait to die to find heaven. You have to build it inside your own consciousness first. And that leaves us with a pretty powerful question to chew on, doesn't it? It suggests that the same creative force that sparked the entire universe isn't just some distant power out there. According to this philosophy, the greatest creator has given every single one of us a little piece of that same awesome world-building power. The only question is, what kind of world are you building with it?